It is time for a haul. I guess I should have said duck the halls, but nah, what are you gonna do? Oh boy. So I have accumulated quite a lot of records over the past couple of months, and yeah, it's time to talk about them. These are the records that I had gotten, I guess, at the end of 2020. I think this is going to actually be my first video of 2021. So welcome to a new year. Let's hope it was better than last year. Just going to go through some of these. Some of these are used, some of these are reissues, and some of these are brand new. And I'm really excited to talk about all of these guys with you. So let's just dive in. The first little bit, we've got used, and specifically mystery packs. Now, if you guys know of Waxman does mystery packs where there's about 4 albums in a brown paper bag. You don't know what they are. They're $3 each, and whenever I'm there, I have to get one. My girlfriend got me one for Christmas, and I got one when I was there last, so I've got, 4 times 2, 8 albums from there. The first one is Benny Goodman, The Golden Age. This is a great kind of big band clarinet kind of stuff. I really enjoyed this one. Next one is Nana, and I always mispronounce her name, Nana Maluski. She I have found quite often up here in North Bay. So a lot of Nana in here, and I really love the grooves of it. Very 60s, very hippie, very like love, peace, and all good things. Very fun on that one. Next one, my boy Vivaldi. This is one of his flute concertos. And I believe there's actually a harpsichord concerto on this one as well. A lot of fun. Really, really like this one. Love the groove, and I love the interpretation on it. Then we've got Neil Diamond, the Hall Bennett Bartlett film of Jonathan Livingston Seagull. I actually haven't listened to this one yet, so I don't know what this sounds like. I'm not a big Neil Diamond fan, so I've kind of pushed it off, but maybe someday I'll put it on and give it a spin. It looks really cool. Really looks really cool. Next up, I've got James Galway. I never heard about this guy before. Very excited to see what it sounds like. Yeah, I have no idea. I haven't even put it on. Looks like it's flute with the back. So I'm guessing there's a lot of flute on here. That's I'm pretty excited about that, actually. So that was one mystery pack. The second mystery pack we got is Schubert, Franz Schubert. Love this. Usual classical stuff, and I love classical music. And it was just a really good time, you know? Really, really like it. Next one, the portrait of Mr. T. Not the Mr. T that we were expecting, but Jack Targarden, I think it is, Targarden. Again, I haven't actually listened to this one yet, so I don't know what it sounds like, but yeah, I'm hoping for some really good things. The next one is Bill Cosby, Wonderfulness. I'm going to just donate this. Not a big fan of Bill Cosby and everything that kind of came about with him, but you know, this was before that, so you know, that's going in the donating pile. I think that's it from that one. I may have miscounted. I think that was only 7. But anyway, coming into some used stuff that I've bought now. And the first one is Linda Boyd, A Guitar for Christmas. Love this record. I actually found myself spinning this a lot this Christmas season. A lot of these are going to be Christmas albums because I love Christmas music. And I mean, that's all I was listening to in December. And it was funny. Spotify does its whole wrap at the beginning of December. And I'm glad that it does, because if it didn't, half of my Wrapped would just be Christmas music. So I'm glad that they do it early, even though it doesn't cover the entire year. But anyway, love this stuff. It's more classical guitar than anything else, and I love the renditions of a lot of these classic Christmas carols. Next one is Organ and Chimes at Christmas. This is the sound of Christmas for me. Organ and chimes in kind of like a church setting. I love the renditions of a lot of these tracks. I mean, it is kind of a bargain bin album. I mean, that's where I picked it up from, but it just holds such a nice flavor to that. So really, really like that, and I had to pick it up. Okay, getting into some really good used stuff. The first one is the Mahavishnu Orchestra Live. This is like pseudo King Crimson. This is like This is like King Crimson before King Crimson was a thing, or I guess King Crimson was a thing. But this was done in like 1973, so very like Lark's Tongue very Lark's Tongue in aspect, very impressionistic, very jazz fusion. Love this stuff. I love how airy and impressionistic it is without being completely balls to the wall insane. Great stuff. If you haven't checked out Mahavishnu yet, do it. Do it, do it, do it. Oh, and hey, speaking of experimental, impressionable jazz fusion stuff, I got Herbie Hancock, the Future Shock. Not a big fan of this one. I really love a lot of Herbie Hancock stuff, especially like Mindhunter and some of his other really popular stuff. This one is very 80s. It's got a lot of almost dance grooves on it, and I wasn't as much of a big fan of this, but I did like some of the interpretation and sounds. Really liked it. What is it? Extended dance version of Rocket? It was all right, but great stuff. Okay, last of the used. This one I am so glad I found. This is Fresh Air 5 by Mannheim Steamroller. I am now only missing the first Fresh Air within the whole Fresh Air suite in terms of the records. I'm missing 7 and 8, but I'm not going to be looking for that one because I'm not a big fan of those two. But 5 and 6, brilliant stuff. I love this one. This one is the To the Moon and Back. Just brilliant music, and it was one of my most listened to albums this year on Spotify. So the fact that I found this, most of the time I had to order it online, but most of the time this is like $200-$300. I found it for $30, and I'm like, I have to do it. So Mannheim Steamroller, number 5, great album, and I've been listening to this practically nonstop. Okay, we're coming into the new stuff. These are either reissued or new albums. They're all brand new, and the first one is, I think it's Triskel and Cascades by Twang Man. This was actually an album that a fan of mine reached out and wanted me to give. So I guess I got it. Very excited to listen to it and talk about it. I listened to about half of it. I got halfway through. Really great experimental instrumental prog. I'm going to be talking about it in a future quarter notes. Really great stuff. So thank you, Twang Man, for, giving me this. Very excited to really dive in and sink my teeth into. So look forward to my review of this really soon in a quarter notes video. Pretty excited about it. Okay, I got a couple soundtracks here. The first one up is actually Frozen 2. I love the soundtrack to this movie. I love the movie. I actually liked it more than the first one. A part of that is actually the music in this. Some of the songs on here, I love Lost in the Woods. It's such a great 80s ballad. But some of the more heartfelt things, like The Next Right Thing, performed by Kirsten Bell, Show Yourself. There's no real powerhouse moment like Let It Go, but Into the Unknown and Show Yourself are pretty big contenders. And I think overall it's a stronger soundtrack than the first one was. So I had to pick it up because I think I have the first one in my collection. I should know, it's my collection. But a great soundtrack. Really dug this one. Next up, one of my favorite albums from last year, Birds of Prey. Now, I know what you guys are thinking. What the hell is he doing with Birds of Prey? I love this soundtrack. It's very empowering. It's very go get 'em. It's very, life has done you dirty, so now you're going to pick yourself up and get her done. Needed this for this year. I'm going to tell you that right now. The songs on here I needed for this year. I love, Smile, Lonely Gun, and The Joke's on You. That's three-song pack is just banger. And I love a lot of the other interpretations of some of the songs on here. Just a great album to a great movie. And if you guys haven't seen it, I know a lot of people didn't like Birds of Prey. I did. So yeah, I really like this one. So I had to pick it up. Okay, next up, I've got a couple Christmas albums. The first one is an album that I actually got for my girlfriend at the beginning of December so that we can listen to it all throughout the Christmas season. Ella Wishes You a Swinging Christmas. We both love Ella Fitzgerald, and this is one of our favorite Christmas albums, so when I saw it, I had to pick it up. It's got some great interpretations of classic stuff like Jingle Bells, Santa Claus is Coming to Town, Sleigh Ride, and the Christmas Song. Great, fun Christmas songs. Just a great album. And speaking of great albums for Christmas, I had to pick up the new Dolly Parton one. I'm a huge Dolly fan. This is A Holly Dolly Christmas, and I love how playful and fun it is. A lot of these Christmas albums, I feel, they have that fun, but there's like this loss of joy. It almost feels like there's an expectation, a obligation to do it. And this one is just Dolly having a blast. So I love this. I love some of the guest appearances that we have on here, like Miley Cyrus, Michael Bublé, Jimmy Fallon, Billy Ray Cyrus, Willie Nelson, and Randy Parton. Great talent for a great Christmas album. And it just was a great time. Yeah, I like this one. Okay, if you guys have seen this one, this was by far the absolute worst Christmas album I've ever done. I've already done a full review of this. You can find that right up here. And that is, unfortunately, I hate to say it, a prog rock Christmas. This thing is an abomination. There's only one track on here that I would want to revisit, and even that is a stretch. It's basically just Billy Sherwood putting together a Christmas album, and as I mentioned in my review, and I still stand by it, it feels like a boomer's Christmas album where nobody thought to tell them not to because the ego is so high, and they think that what they're doing is so fantastic and groundbreaking, but oh boy, it is bad. It is bad. So that's all I'm going to say. That's a prog rock Christmas, which is a shame because essentially this album was made for me, and it was such a letdown. Such a letdown. Anyway, I'm going to put this down. Okay, coming into one of my favorite albums of all time, Elton John's Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. I grew up with this album. My dad had it, and he still has it. The album itself is warped beyond measure, so you can barely hear it, but it has some of my favorite Elton John songs. The title track, the first track, A Funeral for a Friend. Love that track. What is it? Goodbye, like the second side of Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. This song has no title, and Gray Seal, just boom, 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 3 masterpieces of tracks. Love this album, and I put it on quite regularly, so yeah, I had to pick it up. All right, I got 2 King Gizzard albums. The first one in my never-ending quest of collecting all the King Gizzard albums. This time I have The Murder of the Universe. I'm actually really enjoying this one, more so on record rather than streaming. In streaming, it's got that 3-piece suite that I actually kind of enjoy. And I mean, halfway through the Lord of Lightning versus the Balrog, I kind of like the fact that it's all in one suite. And at the, when you're listening to it, it cuts it off in the halfway mark. So this might be one of the only times when I would have recommended having 2 albums rather than the single. But I'm not going to really, poo-poo it, because this is a fantastic album. I love it. I love how heavy it is. I love how insane it is. It's great. It's great. And I love the fact that it comes with like a practical picture book. Like it comes with like this book that basically tells you the tale. And I love this presentation. Love it. Such a good presentation of music. Next up, we have the King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard live in San Francisco 16. So I keep it in its packaging, and it almost reminds me of the Arcade Fire's reflector. Oh, you can actually see the ring light that my girlfriend got me for Christmas. Great live album. I already had Chunky Shrapnel, and I love that they do a lot of the Nonagon stuff on this one. Such a great album. Really love the intensity and the energy that the boys bring to a live recording. Highly recommended. Love this live album. All right, let's see here. We're coming into the last 4. Next up, we have Orville Peck's Pony. This album blew me away. I listened to this on a Quid Prog Quo episode. It's my podcast. If you guys haven't already checked it out, go and check it out. You can find it on all podcast streaming sites. My good friend Alicia, a brilliant, beautiful, and wonderful woman that she is, got me to listen to Orville Peck. I had her listen to FROZENII. This is probably one of my favorite albums that I have gotten from that whole project, and that was part of the reason why I started the project, was to listen to more music outside of my comfort zone. Now, this is being labeled as a country and western album, but honestly, it's much more of like an indie pop, kind of like Lana Del Rey. Love the grooves. I love the sounds. It's very dream pop, dream synth, indie stuff. It's very hard to put like a genre on this, but brilliant voice. I find myself getting moved whenever I hear this man sing. It's like one part Lana Del Rey, as I've already mentioned, one part Elvis Presley. Anyway, getting ahead of myself. Brilliant stuff. Go and check it out. I really like this album. And it was really getting me through this year. And speaking of an album that was getting me through this year, I finally received Taylor Swift's Folklore. Love this album. I love her kind of switch into the indie folk. I already have Evermore on order, so that's coming in May. But for the time being, I'm loving living in this area, and I love the whole aesthetic, the black and white, very minimalistic, like gatefold there. Just brilliant. I love this album. I love this expression that she's really playing with, and I hope she does more in it. Evermore, as I mentioned, is a brilliant, brilliant album. This one just as much. So I love the 1-2 punch, and I love listening to this one and just getting drift away. We're down to the final two. Next up, one of my favorite albums of this year, we have Madness and Magic from Arabs in Aspect. I really, really enjoyed this album. Now, unfortunately, the packaging is not good. Like, it's already split here, and there's a lot of creases on the corners. The supplier did not do a very good job wrapping this in its delivering. I am not pleased about that because it is definitely not in pristine condition, but the music itself is still brilliant, and I love this album. So if you haven't listened to it already, like, the artwork alone is enough to pick it up. It is just stellar. And the music itself is just as good. Just as good. It's one of my favorite retro prog outfits of this year. Finally, one of the masterpieces of this year that I had to pick up, Lunatic Soul Through Shaded Woods. This album surprised the hell out of me, considering I'm not a big fan of Lunatic Soul. Like, I love Martin Duda's side projects, and Lunatic Soul might be my favorite of his, but I never really found like any of his albums from Lunatic Soul really connected with me as much as Riverside did. This album just completely blew me away, and I loved listening to this on physical format. It's divided perfectly. It's a really big throwback to the way that records used to be made. Just a brilliant, brilliant album, and I can't help but love this, and we'll gush about it even more. So yeah, if you haven't listened to Through Shaded Woods yet, please do so. It's brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Okay, so it figures right after I shoot all my video and I start editing, I get 2 packages in the mail. First one up being Gazpacho's Fireworker. I already talked about this in my year-end review, so now I think I'm just missing Soyuz and the first 2 or 3 records from Gazpacho, and I've got them all on vinyl. And the other one, I want to do my best here with only one hand. Let's see here. There we go. You got a little bit of a... And the other one I got was Rick Wakeman's The Red Planet. I'm not a big fan of how they split this up, and it's also pressed in 45. So, I mean, on the one hand, you get that 45 sound, but on the other hand, I have to flip this record over like 4 times, cause it's, or I guess 3 times, because it's pressed on 2 LPs. I kind of liked how they split it up in the original pressing of this album, where it was across 3 record size rather than 4. It just, the flow is a little bit better, but still, fantastic music from the prog rock legend of Rick Wakeman. So those are the last 2 that I have in my collection, the last 2 records that I got in 2020. I have a whole bunch of records on order now for 2021, so I have a feeling you'll probably get another record update in the near future. So that's all I've got. I'm signing off. I guess I'll loop it back into the video at this point then. So those are all the albums, and I'll start doing this all over again. So what was your favorite album of the bunch? Which was your most surprising album of the bunch? What albums did you get over this holiday season and within the past couple of months, the last couple of months of 2020? Please let me know all about that by commenting down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you haven't already, check out my podcast, Quid Prog Quo. And if you like what you see, consider donating to my Patreon. I have my Patreon link down below. It really goes a long way, and I hope in 2021 I'll be doing a lot more live streams, so I'll be able to interact with you guys in person. And I do a shout out to all of my patrons there. So yeah, that's all I've got. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, you guys are definitely the best. And until next week, or I guess next time, notes out.